Good afternoon, fellow Idahoans, and welcome to another edition of Fiscal Fridays with Fred. This Friday, I'm not going to talk about a lot of numbers, but I am going to talk about how budgets are used to advance a social agenda. Many of you may have heard about something called the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children. Now, doesn't that sound very innocuous? Well, let's take a bit of a step back. Several weeks ago, in fact, it was, to be precise, on February 18th, the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee approved an appropriation of about $6 million. And it was a grant that the recipient I just named, the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, was going to use for a group of children in the age of roughly 0 to 5, the preschool age. So what? This just sounds like another budget bill. Well, here's what's interesting. You'd think that children of that age group would be learning the very basics, coloring, ABCs. This organization has on its website how to teach children of that age social justice things, like introducing them to transgenderism, and of course, how whites are racist. So because those things were brought to the fore, this bill, this grant, actually died. And on March 2nd, the House of Representatives voted it down by one vote. It failed 34 to 36. End of story, right? Not exactly. Unfortunately, bad ideas come back. And what the legislature did was it asked the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee, well, let's make this palatable. Let's figure out a way to sell this. So they, again, are sending this grant, and will be voted on next week, and they added some language. Monies appropriated in Section 1 for the Preschool Development Grant birth through 5, that's a very interesting, birth through 5, shall not be used to dictate curricula used by local collaboratives. Collaboratives include parents, families, educators, a representative from the state board, representative from local school districts, etc. And then they say these local collaboratives shall be financially self-sufficient, relying on local funding after the activities of the Preschool Development Grant birth through 5 renewal are completed. So what they're basically saying is, don't worry about the transgenderism, the social justice, all these things, because this intent language is going to require that parents be involved. But here's the problem. We basically are now saying federal dollars are brought into Idaho, and we're funding full-time activists to pursue and promote this agenda. And then we're expecting parents who do this and others on a part-time basis to push back. It's just not the way to go. The way to go is to say, look, any organization that would have any resources for a child of birth through 5 devoted to social justice isn't something we want to have any money going to. $0, no grant, another grant recipient is needed that's going to teach kids what they should be taught at those ages, which is probably the beginnings of reading and writing, maybe some arithmetic. So this is coming up next week. It's time for Idahoans to say no to the son or daughter, whatever it is, of House Bill 226. There's no bill number yet, but it's going to be the early childhood grant. And all it does is it takes the money that was rejected, adds a little intent language to try to get a few more votes. And hopefully, this bill will be rejected a second time. Thank you.